Welcome back to Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research and Into the Shadows. I am your host, Don Alter. It has been a little while since we released a new episode, and I know some of you have been wondering where we have been and when we will return. We will return next week with a new episode. Over the summer, the team at Into the Shadows decided to take a short vacation from producing regular episodes. After years of investigations, research, interviews, traveling, and long nights spent examining things that cannot always be easily explained, sometimes you need to step back, recharge, and prepare for what comes next. But we have not disappeared. We will be back soon, and when we return, we will pick up where we left off with more paranormal investigations, more historical locations, more eyewitness accounts, and more conversations about the mysteries that may exist just beyond what we can see and understand. As always, our approach will remain the same. We examine the evidence. We look for natural explanations. We try to debunk everything we can before we consider calling anything paranormal. However, while Into the Shadows has been taking a short break, I have been keeping very busy. I have spent much of that time writing and publishing a new continuing series of murder mysteries, stories that combine realistic criminal investigations with suspense, unexplained events, and a paranormal twist. These books are available on Amazon.com, and if you enjoy the kinds of mysteries we explore here on Into the Shadows, I believe you are going to enjoy these stories. The series follows Detective Mara Kailhart, a seasoned senior detective with a strong personality, years of investigative experience, and very little patience for weak theories or careless police work. Mara is intelligent, determined, independent, and not easily intimidated. She does not allow anyone to dismiss her judgment, underestimate her abilities, or push her away from the truth. She has spent her career learning how criminals lie, how witnesses hide information, and how evidence can be manipulated. She understands that the smallest inconsistency can break open an entire investigation. Mara believes in following the facts, but she also knows that not every fact leads to a comfortable explanation. Although she rarely discusses it, Mara is more open to the possibility of paranormal activity than most people around her realize. She never jumps to a supernatural conclusion, but she does not automatically reject one simply because it makes other investigators uncomfortable. Working beside her is Detective Owen Keir, her younger partner. Owen is still developing his instincts and learning how Mara approaches a difficult case. She challenges him, questions his assumptions, and expects him to think beyond the most obvious explanation. Their partnership continues to grow throughout the series, especially as they are repeatedly assigned investigations that seem to cross the line between an ordinary murder and something much darker. For reasons neither one of them can explain, Mara and Owen seem to get every case containing a paranormal twist. Maybe Captain Alden Grayson simply believes they are the best detectives for unusual investigations. Or maybe something is deliberately drawing these cases and whatever is behind them toward Mara Kailhart. The first book in the series is the N9 Protocol. Dr. Elias Cormand is found dead inside a secured research laboratory. At first, his death appears to have been caused by a sudden, heart-related medical event. But the evidence does not remain that simple. Cormand had been working on a confidential research project known as TRACE, an experiment involving artificial intelligence, human memory, consciousness, and the possibility that some part of the mind might continue to exist after the body dies. Then someone or something begins accessing the dead scientist's work. Computer accounts are entered after his death. Messages appear that should not exist. Equipment behaves in ways that cannot be easily explained. The deeper Mara investigates, the more the evidence seems to suggest that Dr. Cormand may have discovered something before he died. But what did he discover? Did his research actually create a way for the dead to communicate through technology? Or is a living person using artificial intelligence to manipulate the investigation, frighten the witnesses, and conceal a carefully planned murder? Mara must work through conflicting evidence secret research, personal motives, and digital clues that appear to change the moment she begins to understand them. The N9 protocol involves artificial intelligence and advanced research, but it is not filled with complicated technical language. At its heart, it is a suspenseful murder mystery about deception, ambition, death, and one disturbing question. What if the final message from a murder victim arrived after the victim was already dead? The second book is The Preparation Room. A dead man is discovered lying on an embalming table inside the aging Dornell and Varmont funeral home. Attached to his wrist is an identification tag, but the name on that tag belongs to a woman who died more than 40 years ago. For Mara and Owen, the evidence initially points toward a carefully staged murder. Someone placed the body in the funeral home, someone attached the identification tag, and someone clearly wants the detectives to uncover a connection to the past. But the funeral home refuses to behave like an ordinary crime scene. Lights fail without explanation. Voices are heard through equipment that is not connected. Sealed rooms contain records that were never supposed to be found. Burial documents conflict with cemetery records, and every answer leads Mara and Owen deeper into secrets that have been hidden for decades. Those secrets reach beyond the funeral home and into the grounds of Everwayne Cemetery, where names, graves, and burial histories do not always agree. Someone may be manipulating the investigation. Someone may be using the funeral home's frightening history to make a human crime appear supernatural. But not everything Mara and Owen experience can be explained by altered records, hidden rooms, or a murderer trying to frighten them away. In the preparation room, the dead may know what happened. The question is whether the living are willing to kill to keep them silent. The third book in the continuing series is The Name It War. This investigation confronts Mara, Owen, and Captain Grayson with a mystery that challenges the boundary between criminal behavior and something that may be genuinely demonic. Names are supposed to identify us. They connect us to our families, our histories, and the lives we have lived. But what if a name could be taken? What if it could be used as a disguise? And what if something evil did not simply enter a person's life, but learned how to wear an identity that did not belong to it? As Mara and Owen follow the evidence, they must determine whether they are facing a calculating human offender using fear, belief, and demonic symbolism to manipulate the people around him, or whether the name at the center of the investigation carries something that has survived far longer than any ordinary criminal. Every witness appears to know only part of the truth. Every explanation leaves another disturbing question behind. And the closer the detectives come to identifying who is responsible, the more uncertain they become about exactly what they are identifying. Mara knows that human beings are capable of creating their own evil. But in The Name It War, she must consider the possibility that evil may also be capable of hiding behind a human face. The fourth book is The Lightless Man. Years earlier, a documentary crew set out to investigate a series of disturbing deaths and unexplained incidents connected to reports of a tall, faceless figure. Witnesses described darkness where the figure's face should have been. Lights dimmed when it appeared. Telephone lines filled with static. Some people reported the smell of burned cedar. Others became convinced that something was watching them from places no person could possibly stand. The documentary was called The Lightless Lie. Its purpose was to prove that the haunting was not real. The crew investigated the stories, examined the evidence, and showed how many of the supposed supernatural signs could have been created or manipulated by a human being. They believed they had exposed the truth. Years later, people connected to that documentary began dying. An apparent overdose, a gunshot believed to be suicide, a fatal crash on an isolated road, a toxic exposure dismissed as an accident, and a disappearance with no body recovered. Each case appears separate. Each one has a rational explanation, but together they form a pattern that Mara Kaelhart cannot ignore. Someone may be recreating the original cases. Someone may be targeting the people who helped convince the public that the lightless man was only a legend. Mara and Owen must uncover who is behind the deaths before another person connected to the documentary becomes the next victim. But even if a human killer is manipulating the evidence, another question remains. Did the documentary crew really disprove the lightless man, or did their investigation awaken something that had been waiting for them to return? Each book tells a complete murder mystery, but the lives and relationships of Mara Kailhart, Owen Keir, and Captain Grayson continue from one book to the next. You can begin with any of the stories, but starting with the N9 Protocol will allow you to follow the characters from the beginning and watch their partnership develop as the cases become more personal and more difficult to explain. These books are written for readers who enjoy suspenseful murder mysteries, strong continuing characters, realistic investigations, and paranormal questions that do not have easy answers. She is not a secondary character waiting for someone else to solve the case. She is the lead detective. She makes the decisions, directs the investigation, questions the suspects, challenges the assumptions of those around her, and refuses to stop until she discovers the truth. Mara is strong, but she is also human. Her past has shaped her. Every case affects her, even when she refuses to show it. She relies on her experience, her instincts, and the evidence, but each new investigation forces her to look a little further beyond what she once believed was possible. The series does not rely on bloody scenes, graphic violence, or gore. The suspense comes from the investigation, the atmosphere, the characters, and the growing realization that the evidence may be pointing in two completely different directions. A human being may be altering records, planting evidence, staging paranormal activity, or using fear to cover a murder. But there is always something left behind, a voice that should not have been recorded, a message that should not have been sent, a name belonging to someone long dead, a figure standing in a place no living person could reach. That is the mystery at the center of every book. Is someone manipulating the evidence, or is something supernatural trying to become part of the investigation? Just when you believe you understand what happened, another clue changes everything. If you enjoy strong female detectives, continuing characters, police investigations, psychological suspense, murder mysteries, and paranormal stories that keep you questioning what is real, I invite you to meet Detective Mara Kailhart. Begin with the N9 Protocol, then continue with The Preparation Room, The Name It War, and The Lightless Man. All 4 books are available now on Amazon.com. Simply visit Amazon and search for Don Alter or the title of any book in the series. And while you are reading, ask yourself the same question Mara must ask in every investigation. Is the killer using the paranormal to hide a human crime? Or is the human crime hiding something paranormal? To everyone who has continued listening, following our investigations, reading my work, and supporting Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research, thank you. Your support means more to us than you may realize. Into the Shadows will be back soon with new episodes, new stories, and more investigations into the things that remain unexplained. Until then, take a look at the Detective Mara Kailhart Paranormal Murder Mystery series on Amazon. Follow the evidence. Question every explanation, and never assume that solving the murder means you have explained everything. Until next time, always look into the shadows. And happy hauntings.